In a silly season surprise, AJ Foyt Racing has signed David Malukas to a multi-year contract extension to drive one of their cars next year in the NTT INDYCAR Series. Now, after spending the first 2 years of his IndyCar career with Dale Coyne Racing, it seemed like Malukas got his first big break to drive for a top team when he signed with Aaron McLaren for 2024. However, when he was sidelined for months due to a wrist injury from mountain biking, McLaren released him from his contract. Then he found a seat for the remainder of the 2024 season in the number 66 Honda for Meyer-Shank Racing. Malukas said he's extremely excited to join the team because they performed well this year, and the possibility of driving for the legendary AJ Foyt played a role in his decision. Graphic courtesy there of AJ Foyt Racing. Kobe's back with us, and we'll get a conversation with him now as well with the first question. Was Malukas to Foyt even a possibility in your mind before yesterday's announcement of it?
No, not at all, Josh. This was a major surprise to hear that David Malukas was going to AJ Foyt Racing. Naturally, given the chemistry he's built in a short amount of time with Meyer-Shank Racing, I just assumed that, it'd be easy to re-sign David Malukas to a multi-year contract extension. I think Malukas and that number 66 team have been doing a fantastic job together in the 5 races that they've had together. And naturally, I thought it would be easy for them to continue that relationship. But apparently, I guess Malukas thought grass was greener on the other side, especially since AJ Foyt Racing with the alliance with Team Penske right now, that maybe if they continue to work on the progress they've had this year, especially with Santino Ferrucci, then maybe they can continue to march up the grid in 2025. And maybe Malukas feels like the long-term potential of AJ Foyt Racing is better than where he's at Meyer-Shank Racing right now. And after I had some time to think about Malukas' decision to go to AJ Foyt Racing, made me think about Marshall Pruitt's IndyCar silly season notebook, when he basically said, well, there could be a new alliance coming for Meyer-Shank Racing next year, so stay tuned for that. That announcement could be, just a few days to a few weeks away. But potentially you could see drivers from Chip Ganassi Racing go over to Meyer-Shank Racing. So I'm thinking if that's the case, given a potential new alliance that's down the road, then maybe there wasn't a spot for David Malukas at Meyer-Shank Racing, that he had to go looking elsewhere. So I guess we'll know more, once that news officially gets announced. But given what we've seen from Santino Ferrucci this year in that car, Ferrucci is currently top 10 in the points, which is very impressive. And if David Malukas can match or exceed what Santino has done in that car, I think David Malukas might have walked himself into a really good situation. And if you look at Team Penske right now, Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin, they're set to be here, Team Penske, for years to come. Will Power is getting up there in age. Yeah, Will still performing at the top of his game, so you don't really know when he's going to retire. Will Power looks like someone who could drive at a top level for another 5 years, but who really knows? And Will Power get up there in age? And if Power decides to retire in a couple of years or so, and Malukas is running at this Penske affiliated team, and if Malukas sets the world on fire, could Malukas potentially position himself for a future drive at Team Penske? So I think that Malukas might have potentially played his cards in the right hand here, thinking long term.
That is a cracking point, Kobe. That I've never crossed my mind whatsoever. So you could have a potential future Penske lineup of Joe New, Scotty Mack, and little Dave. Oh, hang on a minute. That was on YouTube, wasn't it? And it all went a bit pear-shaped. Was it a surprise in the 24/7 365 silly season of IndyCar? I'm not really sure it was a surprise. But as Kobe's kind of outlined there, seems to be a good fit. And let's hope that it is for David, because certainly when we've been doing the races on USRN, me and Matthew Owen certainly were raving about him at the 500 and previous. He's really got a good body of work, especially on the ovals, to his name. So he just needs a bit more luck, which he hasn't really had much of since the turn of the year, when he was supposed to be going to McLaren, Josh, as you outlined. So let's hope that for David's sake, he can get back, get some momentum going with this next year and be up there fighting for the front. And as Kobe mentioned, position himself for a couple of those real big drives that will be coming up in the next couple of years, with the likes of Dixon and Power perhaps stepping aside.
I believe
Matt, Matt, where are we going this weekend? We're going to Gateway. In the last 2 Gateway races, who's been up there battling for the win and looking very strong? David Malukas. So I think that this could be a very good weekend for him, and it would not surprise me at all if David Malukas is in contention for the win. Look very impressive coming off this injured wrist, and we'll see what he's able to do moving forward. And also have a comment from Jackson saying you're curious why Meyer-Shank didn't try keeping him, but you got to believe he's going for another McLaren driver on his way out. And yeah, there are rumors, that could be a potential landing spot for Alexander Rossi. Go ahead, Josh.
I mean, it's just getting ridiculous, isn't it, with all this? It's like, forget the merry-go-round. We've gone full magic circle. It's ridiculous. It's literally just, yeah. Who wants it?
Don't look into my eyes, IndyCar silly season. Look around the eyes.
And you wonder, right, you want to forget everything you said. You're not a McLaren driver anymore. You're not going to go over to Motor Racing. Then next you're going to be... Oh, it's ridiculous. It's really...
When you wake up, you will be a 5-time Indy 500 winner.
It's bizarre, isn't it? You can't work out what's going to happen next in IndyCar. We think Formula One's bad this season with silly season. It is worse in IndyCar. And it always seems to be, as it was a couple of years ago, Formula E triggers with Formula One, and then that Formula One leads into IndyCar. They all sort of link together as to what is happening. Lindsay says, the hit and miss in power is getting worse with age. What happened to McLaren and Palou thing? And is there a shortage of open wheel drivers now? The thing about the power, it's simple. Let Jackson Lambrose be the lead commentator on JB Motorsports for a weekend. Will Power wins a race? It's simple. Twice he's done it. Twice he's won. And I've missed both. And with McLaren and Palou, that is still ongoing, isn't it? That court case?
Yeah, Josh. That's still ongoing in the courts. I read about it a couple of weeks ago, where Zach Brown basically went on the defense and said, "Hey, don't look at us with our driver situation." They say it's all Alex Palou's fault. It's Palou. Blame Palou. Don't blame us. So Zach Brown was deflecting blame onto Alex Palou there, but in all seriousness, the McLaren Palou thing is still playing out in the courts. And in regards to like shortage of drivers, right now we don't have enough seats for the amount of drivers out there. I guess that's a good problem to have, where we have a really good healthy grid right now, and we have so many drivers out there who are deserving of a seat, but unfortunately we don't have enough room at the table for all of them. So some really good talented drivers are going to be left on the sideline next year.
And what we haven't had in the IndyCar paddock for the last couple of years is a healthy second tier, with Indy Next going really good guns with grid numbers and such like. There's some future stars in there that will blossom, hopefully. The IndyCar gods are cruel to me, Josh, says Jackson.
He is, literally. He's led it twice at Road America, and I believe, where did Power last win? It was I was Donington.
Road America he won.
Road America he won, and then he won Iowa 2.
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah, the 2 I wasn't there for. So what does that tell you about me? Maybe I'm the curse for him. I was commentating his last win, and I've missed his last 2. But despite recovering from surgery on his injured wrist, going back to David Malukas, he hasn't missed a beat, qualifying in the Fast 12 in 4 of his first 5 races so far this year. This has left some wondering if he's staying with Meyer-Shank would have been the best option instead of signing with his 4th team in 4 years entering 2025. Now, Foyt didn't specify which car Malukas will be driving, as the futures of Santino Ferrucci and Stingray Robb will be announced at a later date. Team President Larry Foyt said Malukas is a fierce competitor who possesses a great deal of natural talent and believes he'll be a great fit with the team as Foyt continues to move closer to the front of the IndyCar grid. So, Matt, given Foyt's alliance with Team Penske paying dividends for the, of course, number 14 team this year, do you think Malukas could find a similar level of success as Ferrucci has?
I think it probably more over the season. If you take the season as a whole, you would probably say, all things being equal, that Malukas should finish ahead of Ferrucci in the point standings. We know how good Santino goes at the 500, but more often than not, outside of that, he's creating excitement, but not perhaps scoring so many good finishes and points. You think back to Detroit this year, where he just was crashing into almost everybody, it seemed like, at some point in that race. Just imagine if he got together with Austin Canapino. But I think Malukas if Ferrucci is the man that's going to be going from Foyt, and that looks probably the most likely at the moment, we think, from what we've heard, especially from what Marshall Pruitt's been writing on Racer.com, that Stingray Robb is bringing a lot of money to that team, and you would think if they want to keep going, then they'd need Stingray in the second car. So Santino might be on the chopping block, but I feel like Malukas would. If you had to, if I had to take one of the two, anything being equal, I'd take Malukas.
Yeah, I think that this, like I say, this could be an incredible opportunity for David Malukas. And I think he has potential to really benefit from this Foyt Penske alliance. And it would not surprise me, like you say, Matt, if Malukas is able to exceed what we've seen from Santino Ferrucci. And as Lindsay says here in the chat, is Stingray or Santino out? We don't really know yet. Well, we know for one thing's true, at least one of them is out. Whether it's Stingray or Santino, or we've seen crazier things happen. Maybe someone swoops in and then both of them are out and looking for new rides next year. I think the smart play for the team would be, performance wise, would be keep Santino in the 14 and then put David Malukas in the 41, so you can have a very strong 2-car driver lineup here. But we know both Stingray Robb, it hasn't really been the best year for him. He's having a hard time matching Santino in performance. So I think strictly from a performance standpoint, we probably want to replace Stingray and all of that. But I think I've seen some others bring up the fact, if you get rid of Stingray, since it brings a lot of financial back into for it, like who's going to pay for this program in 2025? So what's that going to mean for Santino? Are they going to keep Stingray, and just bring in David to replace Santino? Who really knows at this point? But as I've been saying, I think that this is a great opportunity for David Malukas. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's able to do with AJ Foyt Racing. And for his sake, I hope that this can be the Foyt Penske pipeline. I hope this becomes a home for him, because it's not really a good thing when you have a driver, switching teams every other year. Need for him to stay at one place, for a few years or so, try to build some consistency and all of that, so you're not swapping teams this year and that year.
David Malukas, the Nico Hulkenberg of IndyCar.